Today on the podcast, we have Courtney Sarault. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah.
Just making sure. And I have known her for quite a few years. She is an Olympic speed skater, professional athlete, and she is with Team Canada, and she's doing quite a bit lately. And it's so exciting to have her on and want to talk all about her life and see what she's up to and see where she started. So thanks for coming on, Courtney. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So first, I want to ask you, what have you been up to lately before we go to the past? Some of you may have heard that at one point in my life, I lost over 100 pounds and completely changed my life in a lot of different aspects. I was able to reverse a number of physical and mental health conditions which I was medicated for and quit smoking, alcohol, food addictions, and so on. So I know what it's like to be at rock bottom, and I also know what it's like to try things and fail and fall off the wagon over and over. Eventually, I found out what works to stay consistent, and I've kept it consistent for over 5 years now. And now I want to help you to do the same. I want to teach you the route of how I changed my life, and I want to help you make the hard things easier so that you can finally reach all the goals that you've been wanting. There's a very important missing piece to weight loss that is often overlooked, and that's the mindset. The reason why diet and exercise regimes fail is because they're not teaching you how to get to the root of how you gain weight in the first place and how to change and rewire your brain so that you can create new habits that will create long-lasting results. So if this sounds like it's interesting to you, check out one of my programs in the show description. You can book a free 30-minute session with me. I have a free course there. And if you're looking to join one of my programs with a friend, right now I'm offering a 2-for-1 deal. So if you and your friend join, you each get it for 50% off. And if it's just you yourself, I will give it to you for 25% off. So just remember that anything's possible, especially when you put your mind to it.
Well, I've been traveling a lot this year. I started off with traveling we did our World Cup in Montreal, and then flew over to Salt Lake City, and then had a little break, and then actually went to Kazakhstan. I think that's how you pronounce it. Don't on that, but we went there for a little over 2 weeks, and that was like probably actually more crazy of a travel day than going to China, because we went to Beijing for the Olympics, and I've been to China before the Olympics, and I don't think anything compares to that. That travel right there was like the worst. The jet lag was the worst I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I don't know why. Maybe because the travel was so choppy, like it wasn't just one way or direct.
Do you
So
find the jet lag affects your performance at all, or do you have enough time to integrate?
yeah, when we go, we try and set enough time to prepare and like enough to get used to the jet lag. So like we try and go like a whole week, sometimes a little bit before, but definitely the first few days are rough, like anyone with jet lag. But it depends, because like some places are better than others. And normally I'm not too bad with jet lag, but I remember that one I was feeling sick like during the day, and that's never really happened to me before. But I had a really good competition. Both competitions were really great there. So that was good. And then now in 1 week, we're leaving to Dresden, Germany, and then we fly over to the Netherlands for the competition. And then after that, we have around 3 weeks, and then we're heading to Korea for World Championships. So,
Oh wow,
yeah.
that's amazing. First, I want to ask, do you guys have like any tricks to kind of get into the time zone, and cure that jet lag? Because I've heard some pretty cool things from different podcasts, such as like if you change the time that you eat, like it kind of affects your circadian rhythm and kind of tells your body to adapt to certain time frames to help you fall asleep. Have you heard about that before?
Not really. Like with us, we kind of just have like little tactics to like help us fall asleep better. We also have like sleeping pills in case it's like when you're really bad and you're like, okay, this is the last option. But we also have like blue light. So you like stare at the blue light to try and that's to wake you up though.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
certain spots, like they recommend us wearing like sunglasses at certain times just so that we're not like really in the light, and we can not like our body won't wake up as much. And then like before we leave, we try and like maybe fall asleep like a little bit later or like a little bit earlier than normal, just to try and like push it a little bit. But no, it's kind of like you try your best. And cold showers, of course, like when I'm competing, I need to take a cold bath like almost every night after I compete because my legs are hurting, and it just helps my body calm down after. I guess if I keep my legs like hot and hurting, I won't have as good of a sleep as if I sit in the cold tub for a little bit.
That's awesome. I think we've talked before, and I'm all about the cold exposure and cold
Yeah,
showers and cold baths and stuff. Do you submerge your whole body or just your legs?
depends how bad it is. Like when it's really like bad, I have to put my whole body, but I don't often do that because I just hate cold. I hate it. I've like mastered my legs, but anytime it goes like above the belly button, I'm hurting.
Yeah, yeah. That's when you get the I think it's called when it goes past your shoulders, you get the what's it called? The is it the diver's response or something like that where you go like you
Yeah,
gasp
you're in.
and
Yeah, I've
yeah,
done
it
that.
kind of puts you in shock. But that's like the thing, that's the beneficial thing with cold exposures. Like if you allow that to happen, you go up to your neck and you just kind of allow yourself to calm and do like slow breathing and get past that initial shock, and where you realize like, oh, you're alive, you're not going to die, and it's just a short time. That's where like you get the benefits of cold exposure. So
Yeah, I did that before. We had to go. There was like one really hard training area, and they recommended that we all went in the cold tubs, and just like it's the ones at the Olympic Stadium, so like you can really walk down, and then you like go down a level, and like you can go higher. But we just had to like run in like to our neck, and my body literally like was basically I couldn't because it was so cold, and I hate cold. Like I was almost like passing out into the water. Like everything was kind of like going numb, and I was like falling into the water. My friend was losing it, and I was like, I'm literally gonna drown. Like I can't even control my body right now. I'm going in head under in the water. So it was definitely an experience. So now I kind of just keep it with my legs, but
yeah, it's kind of funny and ironic in a way because like you're on ice all the time, and yet
yeah,
you hate the cold.
really hate the cold. Cold water, hate it. I hate it, but I can deal with the rink,
Yeah.
and we're working out, so it's not as bad. But
Yeah. But that stuff is super good for recovery. Do you guys get into the sauna much too for recovery or?
we don't do as much sauna, but we should.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but we do. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Normatec before. It like compresses our legs. Like it's like these pants, and then it puts air and compresses our legs. That's after hard trainings. We'll do like the Normatec,
That sounds
and,
cool.
and that's nice. It's not much, but it just helps a bit. And then cold tub is really like our go-to, but we don't have a sauna in the rink, so I think that's probably why we don't do it as much, because it's at the Olympic Stadium and we're not there as much. So
Yeah, and if you're traveling from city to city, you guys don't always have the time to like go to a place that has a sauna and stuff, I'm sure.
like we have a cold bath. We can get a cold bath anywhere, and but we can't find a sauna anywhere. So I think that's probably why it's just do it. We
They
do something
have
too.
they have these like rather hilarious portable saunas where it's almost like it's like a blanket that you just like lay in or like a tent or something. I don't know how good they are, but they look pretty funny.
Yeah, I
I
think. Sorry, my mom's just making coffee right now. She
Oh
can't go.
no,
She
no,
can't go a day without coffee. We should talk about that and how people are addicted to coffee.
that's hilarious. Do you drink coffee?
I've been trying to cut down my coffee, and I've been switching to matcha recently,
Okay.
just because like I have a little bit of problems sometimes like with my cortisol levels and all that stuff, and like hormones and stuff like that. So I find like my coffee just like spikes like the anxiety, the cortisol.
Yeah.
Matcha's a bit more chill. So I've been switching to matcha, and I feel good. It has more benefits as well.
Have you ever had like your genetics tested, like with 23andMe and gotten your, your genetic markers to see if maybe you're a poor caffeine metabolizer?
I haven't, like, I really want to do tests like on my all my stuff, like my hormones and stuff, but I just like never got around to it.
Oh yeah.
But I
Well,
think it's important.
absolutely. I just did a podcast with a lady from here. She's a naturopathic doctor and she specializes in that like genetic testing thing where you run your DNA through 23andMe. She takes that information. I think she runs it through a third-party software so she can see like all your genetic markers and how they affect your physiology. It's some pretty fascinating stuff. So,
That's cool.
so honestly, listen to that podcast when I release it. I'll send it to you because you'll probably be intrigued to like get it done yourself, and you can get the kit just like sent to you, so you don't even have to travel, and you could even do your appointment like online with her because all she does is read your genetic marker and like kind of helps you fill in the blanks of like what you're missing and maybe what vitamins that you can take that your body will actually synthesize to like pick up the slack for anything that you're missing. So that could help your cortisol problem.
Great, actually. I'll have to get in contact with her.
Yeah, really. But I actually recently felt called to quit caffeine, but it only lasted like a week, and then I
I know
started again. I was like, oh, life's just for me is like way happier with caffeine. It's
with
a
that, yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Okay, what?
you could try matcha. It's like the green. You know what that
Yeah,
is?
yeah,
Green.
yeah. I've tried matcha before. Funny enough, I don't know what it is. I've heard this before from other people, but matcha tea and green tea, it makes me nauseous.
Really?
And I don't
Okay.
really know what it is.
Huh. That is interesting.
But coffee's fine.
Yeah, coffee's good.
Yeah.
If you're fine with coffee, whatever. And I'm pretty sure coffee is good for weight loss. I've heard a bit. It like
Y-
curbs height or something like that.
Yeah, it increases your metabolism. It has some thermogenic properties, but
Okay. So
obviously
it's
if you
all
have
bad.
pardon?
Not all bad. Everyone says it's, people are trying to knock coffee, but there's some
Yeah, exactly. And it can increase your cortisol levels and obviously that does not help weight loss at all. But anyways, obviously you guys do quite a bit of things to help with your recovery, and I'm sure you do quite a bit of training. How often do you train?
so we train every day, twice a day. We're on the ice most of the time in the morning around 8:30, 8:45, and then we'll have a training at like 2:45. And then 3 times a week we have like a weight session as well. So like some days we'll have an ice in the morning and then we'll have a weights in the afternoon instead of another ice, which I really like those days. And Sundays are off days. So yeah.
Yeah, so your life is clearly just like training for skating like all day every day.
Yep. Yeah. It's really hard. Like a lot of people had to stop doing classes in school because we just couldn't find enough time to do anything and the schedules would just never match up. So like next week I'm starting a class, so that's gonna be exciting. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm just gonna be so busy. Like I'm already so busy, and then like put a class in there, and it's just like
Yeah, what is the class that you're starting?
so. I'm enrolling in like a marketing class, and I just want to try that out because I stopped school like before the Olympics and during the Olympics just because everything was too much. And I just wanted to focus on the Olympics. But like since I've been out of school for a while, I just didn't want to jump in anything like crazy. I was like, does my brain still work? And I think marketing is something it's hard, but it's like it's fun and like for me it's exciting and it could just get my brain going. So I was gonna do it's more online though, because I'm traveling everywhere. And then also I enrolled in a French class because I'm in Montreal and I really got to get on my French a bit better.
Yeah, I guess I never thought of that. That would be helpful in that
Mm.
area. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can understand French really well, but like talking, I don't know if it's a confidence thing or just like it's hard to express myself in that language. Like I'm an expressive person that I like talking, so if I have to switch it to French, I'll just like not be the same person. So
Yeah,
it's hard.
I can totally relate. Were you in French immersion growing up?
So I kind of have a weird childhood story because like I was supposed to be in French immersion, but my dad is a was a professional hockey player, so we lived in Germany a little bit, and then like we are kind of all over the world. And then when I was supposed to go in French immersion, I was in Germany learning like German, and then when we came back, I missed the deadline for the French immersion, so I couldn't jump back in French immersion, so I just had to like stay in English. And then so I kind of missed the French immersion part. And then like when I came to Montreal, it just was kind of getting better at French with being around French all the time and doing that. But like it really would have helped me if I went into French immersion. But I
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. I was in French immersion till like grade 10, so I'm like
Okay, yeah.
almost bilingual, but it's all about confidence, like you said. My previous relationship, she was like completely French. Well, she
Yeah.
spoke English, but so I really developed my French skills even further, but I always lack the confidence to like properly express myself. Like I can better understand people, so I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go back to when did you start skating to begin with?
So as I said, my dad was a professional hockey player. So like my childhood was on the ice. It was like always around ice, around like rinks and all that stuff. So like for me, I don't remember when I like a time where I know how to skate. I think that I was on skates. Like from the moment I could walk, they were like, get the skates on. Like we gotta go skate, like family skates and all that stuff. So I started speed skating when I was 7 though. So I put like the long blades on when I was 7. And I just fell in love with it ever since. I did other sports as well. I tried figure skating and I played hockey for a bit as well. And I really love that. I love the team aspect of hockey because speed skating is more an individual sport. So getting that was really fun. But like at one point when I was at high levels at both, like I would start missing hockey practices. And when you're in AAA, you can't really afford to miss the practices and like the drills and stuff. So I would go to games and I would just like not know the drill.
Uh,
And so like that was really hard. And then so finally I was like, okay, it's too much. Like I need to pick. And I feel like my heart always belonged to speed skating. And that's kind of what I fell in love with in the first place. So I went there and I'm happy I did because it got me to the Olympics. So
Absolutely, yeah. So what age did you start competing with speed skating?
around like 7, 8.
Okay, wow. And from that age, like, did you have that Olympic dream?
I think so. I think like when we're young, we always dream so big. And I think that I definitely was like, the Olympics, yeah, but at that age, I didn't really know what the Olympics was. I was just like, okay, that's a goal, that's fun. And then when I watched the Olympics, when I watched speed skating, I was so in love with that sport, and it was my favorite sport to watch. And I think that's when I really was like, okay, the Olympics would be really cool because I was like, it was on TV and you never see speed skating really. So the Olympics is like the one time you can actually watch it. And I found it really inspiring and I love the sport. So that's probably when I was like, okay, the Olympics would be like a really good goal. And yeah.
Absolutely. And did you ever feel like it would be hard to get to or that it would be out of reach, or was it something you kind of always knew you would eventually get to in your life?
Oh, of course, like getting to the Olympics is really hard, especially like speed skating. Only six girls in all of Canada go for the sport. So, it's a small little slot that you have to get to the Olympics. So I knew obviously that it was really hard and I would have to work super hard and, make sure everything's on point. But I think going into a few years going into the Olympics, I was on the team, I was getting good results. I think I knew that I could do it and I was capable of it. And yeah, for the next 2 years, I'd be good and I'd be like going up. So there, I knew I could do it. But like before that, it was tough. It was like, it was a dream, but it was like, I wasn't sure if it would be ever a reality.
Yeah.
All I could do was work hard and
Was
hope
there
for the
ever points where you felt like giving up?
I yeah, I think like there has been like a few times when I was younger and I had to move to Montreal away from all my friends while I was in high school. So like, the classic teenager came out of me and I was like, oh, I don't want to, that's a big decision for a sport to leave everything behind, all my friends and you're kind of leaving your social life in a way. So that was big for me. And sometimes I wasn't sure if it was worth it. And so there was that point, but like I'm so happy that I did. Like I'm so happy that I moved and I sacrificed because honestly, like a few extra parties or something I would have attended like is nothing compared to what I get to do now and what I get to see and the people I get to meet and like just I'm friends with people from all over the world, which like not everyone can say. And I left my hometown and I get to experience life in a totally different way. So I'm really happy that I made that sacrifice. But there's been so many times like downs that I've been injured before, and to keep a positive mentality, especially like me when you're a stubborn person, it's sometimes pretty hard. So there's definitely been so many ups and downs, but that's what makes like sports so great and addicting, I guess.
Absolutely. Injuries can be so discouraging, even just for myself. I'm not a professional athlete, but I do use my body for my career as a massage therapist. So when I like completely blew my knees or like dislocated my shoulder, like that's discouraging in and of itself. So I can only imagine what it's like for, an Olympic athlete to get an injury.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like anything, you get an injury, someone takes your place, right? Like if you're massaging, someone needs to take a spot, someone needs to massage and whatnot. And like that injury gives it an opening for someone to go in and do that. So it's like it's not only you're injured and you're out, but it's like you're injured, you're out, and someone's gonna take your spot because now like you bring no value to the team. So that's tough, obviously. But no, I mean, you just got to keep pushing through and like believe that you'll get better and believe everything's going to be fine. So,
So it helps to keep that sort of positive mindset that like that's just a temporary situation and you're going to continue pursuing your dream.
yeah, exactly. But, sometimes it's tough when you're in this situation to keep that positive mindset because there's just so much uncertainty. But, no, I mean, it's always good to have it. Like, even if you're negative, just have that little bit of hope, that little piece that hangs on.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have support from your team and your coaches and your family to kind of help keep you motivated and push you
Exactly.
forward.
Yeah, exactly. And especially my family, I think like without them, I would not be here even right now. So, yeah, I'm super thankful for them and that I have such a strong support system. I think a lot of people can do it without support, but it just makes it so much harder than if you have support and if you have people that genuinely care about you and like want your best interests. But without it, it would be really hard. So I salute people that don't really have that much because like I have a lot, but at the end of the day, it is a mental battle between like yourself, and that's kind of what gets everyone. Is just like you're always fighting yourself, but having like a little extra support really helps.
Absolutely. Now, do you think you could have achieved what you've done without that support? Do you see other girls in speed skating that maybe don't have the support you have that still make it, but they just have to work harder to push themselves?
I mean, I think, yeah, luckily, I think my team has a good support system, but I think that, we are the people we are a little bit because of how we grow up and who raised us and your beliefs and how much you can take and how much you're willing to push. And I think that luckily I got in a good family that, we always push our limits and we always believe in ourselves. And, they're like, we can't take no for an answer. So
Absolutely. So it seems like your dad had quite the inspiration for you to, stay motivated and pursue your dream of speed skating because he's achieved some success with hockey. What teams did he play for?
he played for Montreal Canadiens, actually, which is really cool because I'm in Montreal and sometimes I get to go see a few games because of him. So that's really cool. Colorado Avalanche, and that's when my brother was born, actually, when he was playing for Colorado. So, of course, that's my brother's favorite team. I think he played for Calgary as well. Ottawa Senators, Nashville,
Philly.
Philly. So, yeah, he's played everywhere, but he had like a very big career in the European Hockey League, and that's why I was in Germany. So, and Switzerland. So, like, that's really where he was thriving. And then he got to play some NHL as well, which is like his childhood dreams. So he achieved that, and he's from a small town in Quebec, and he didn't really come from too much. So I'm very inspired by his story, and like I really like his way of thinking, and I think he kind of it's that's like what I have is I think I've seen him like just so engaged and like so just strive to just be what he wanted. So for me, it was never an option that I couldn't be like what I wanted if I really worked hard because, when you grow up and you have someone that did that, it's just like he made his dream a reality. So it was just like, it doesn't seem like it's so obviously it's hard to do, but it doesn't seem like, it's impossible just because you've seen it, you're being brought up by someone that did it. So I think like that helped me a lot. But I think like my mom, like my dad was really good for me that way. But like my mom was more like I talked to my mom a lot. And she's, the one that I classic mother daughter. She's the one that I kind of put my frustration on. And she takes the shit, like, to be honest here, like she takes like the rough Courtney and like not very nice Courtney. So I think she actually gets a lot of credit for dealing with that and helping me get out of my little slumps and stuff. My dad's a big motivator, but my mom really deals with a lot.
Absolutely. They each play their role, half and half into shaping you into who you are today.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Yeah, your dad just showed you what was possible.
Mm-hmm.
And when we see the possibility of something, that's when we'll actually go and get it. It's only when we don't see the possibility when we don't try. And that's what I always say with my own weight loss story, how I lost 115 pounds, is that I only started putting the work in and doing the things to get there when I saw the reality of it being possible to, be that fit, healthy, happy version of myself and overcoming my mental health problems and other physical health problems. Because when we don't believe something is possible, we will not do things to get there and we'll stay stuck. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I always say when you change what you believe, you change what becomes possible.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're a perfect example of that. And, you are blessed to just have been raised in that, I would call it a winning mindset.
Mhm.
Your dad taught you how to have a
Mhm.
winning mindset and to strive for excellence.
Mhm.
And I think that's just absolutely amazing, because this is exactly what I do, and why I even have this podcast is because I feel like a lot of people don't have that that unstoppable mindset that they can do anything. And for
Yeah.
those that are listening, uh, Courtney, she does speed skating. Maybe it's something else for you, but you have to understand that just looking at someone else who has done it, even if they're living in a different country, or even if they were born from a family who comes from an NHL background and stuff like that. I'm sure you skate with girls who didn't have an NHL dad, and just
Uh,
they started from scratch, and they kind of just had to develop that on their own.
yeah.
And you just have to look to people who have done it, because if someone's done it, it means you can do it too. You just have to allow yourself to do the things to get there and push yourself.
Yeah, like so many there's so many different backgrounds on my team, and like everyone's done it, but they've done it their way. And just because I have a really good family and that helped me a lot, like doesn't mean that all my teammates have like NHL fathers. And everyone has a different way of pushing themselves, and everyone does it for different reasons as well. You don't always have to have the same reason, you don't always have to have the same story, but at the end of the day, like it just comes down to yourself. And you know I chose to be inspired by my dad, and I chose to go in that direction. I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to do sports. I didn't they would have let me done whatever I wanted. They were never pushing me to do it. I was just on skates all the time because I had to be, because my dad was on skates all the time. So like they never pushed me though. They If I wanted to sing, if I wanted to do art, they would support me no matter what. So I think that's really cool. And I mean, obviously I chose sports just because I love sports and I love pushing myself, and I love that feeling of getting better and like doing a faster time, and feeling strong. And like it's really it's an addicting feeling for sure, getting better, seeing results. So I really love that, and it's probably in my genetics that I love that because of them. But yeah.
Absolutely. One thing that I was unaware of until you brought it to my attention was, I didn't actually, call me naive and oblivious, but I had no idea that Olympic athletes, technically play for like Team Canada, and you go around the world and perform at all these different competitions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like your life, like all year round, you're just doing
Yeah.
competitions. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, because the Olympics is every 4 years. We can't just go to the Olympics and try and compete. Like there's a lot to speed skating, and it's in short track. I do short track. It's really like technical and tactical, and there's always things going on. So the more you race, the more you practice how to race, you become better, and you can get yourself in better situations and basically get the best probability of winning. If you don't race and you don't practice, it doesn't normally go great, just because there's so much going on in our races that the more you practice, passing and your tracks, there's it's a lot more than just going in circles. You got to fight people off, you got to pass people, you got to do tracks, you got to pick up the speed at certain times, you got to not go as fast certain times, you got to save your legs, you got to go all out. Like it's like this 1 minute race has so many things that has to go into it, and the more you do it, the more it just comes automatic, and the more you just don't have to think as much, and the more you can not think as much and just do, that's when you get the better results. Like
Yeah.
your body does it, and you just have to think about a few key things.
Yeah. Do you find that's where you've, won the most medals, is when you're in that state of mind where it's kind of just second nature and you're just in the flow?
Yeah, for sure. Like when I just switch my brain off about all the extra commotion of the race, and I know what to do. Like, and I have one goal. I know I just have a few little key things that I have to do in order to get to the certain spot I want to with a certain laps left. Like that's when I race my best. And like you have to go into the race with confidence. Like you can't go in like, oh, like maybe I'll try and get second, or like, oh, I just want like I'll try and get the podium. Like you have to go into the race. And that's what I've been better at this year, especially with, because I always used to try and trick myself, like, oh, I'll win, like I can win. And it just like wasn't the good attitude, because I wasn't focusing on like the things I needed to do to win. I was just like trying to win. And then this year, you know, the goal I know is like the gold and I want to win. But I'm like, okay, like what am I going to do to get that? And like, what are the steps I have to take in order to have a good race to get that final outcome? And like actually believing that I could do it. Like before I had to try and trick myself. But now like I feel like I'm in my rhythm and I'm like believing that I can more. So it's really just helped my skating. You know, if you go into the race like thinking you're gonna lose, like you already lost the race. You didn't even skate yet, you already lost. So you just go in confident, collected, and try your best. And if you win, good. If you don't, then that's fine. It's a learning experience. And but yeah, I think it's really important for people, if you go in already with a like a bad mindset, or that you're gonna lose, like you're already setting yourself up for failure, and like you already lost like in your head, you know. So that's what I've been trying to get better at, just like having a better mindset. And yeah,
I've heard people say that, you know, Olympic competitions is almost like a battle of the mind, where it's whoever believes and thinks that they're going to win most will win. But it sounds like there's also another aspect of that, where you don't just have to have that mindset, but you also have to remember all of the things that you need to do to get there, you know. And so that involves training, and also it's almost like trusting the training that you've done. And so when you go into a competition, you have to trust the training you've done, and just kind of allow yourself to do that to get that, you know, medal.
exactly. Like I think there's like a fair line between like, you know, when you really want something and you're like just you want it so bad that your emotions kind of take over. So you want it so bad, and you just let your emotions like consume you. And when your emotions consume you, you don't always have the best thought process. So there's a fine line between having that emotions to get you going, but not letting them control you and your thoughts. Because if I go into a race just emotionally like in it, like I'm gonna do something stupid, I'm gonna make a wrong move, I'm gonna try and go with too many laps to go because I want it so bad, and like I'm just letting that. But like when I like take a deep breath and like let my thoughts actually process, my races go so much better, because I'm not making stupid decisions. I'm not like just doing things off of emotion and impulse. I'm like really, it needs to be like a fine line. Like I want it so bad and I want to win, but I cannot let my emotions like make my choices in this race. I need to take a deep breath and also be calm. So yeah.
Oddly enough, I can totally relate that to when I go perform on stage with my band, because the more I have the mindset that, you know, I've put in the practice, I've done the training, like I'm capable of putting on an awesome performance and singing well and, you know, playing everything perfectly, the better I do. And the more I think about the chords I'm playing, the more I think about the lyrics I'm singing, and like kind of maybe questioning things if I'm on the right track, the more I set myself up to mess up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that's the same with speed skating?
Exactly. Yeah. I like you I think you have to be emotional. You have to like put your heart on the line. You have to like put on a show to do well. That's what makes people so great, is people that have like that do things with emotion, and you know, like that's what makes people so great. But you know, you got to just find also the thoughts in all that emotion. You need to find like the things that keep you calm as well. It needs to be like a fully functioning show. It needs, it needs to, can't just all be one thing crazy. It needs to be a few things like all working together. So
Absolutely. Now, can you tell me, what did it feel like when you knew you were going to the Olympics? But even more so, what did it feel like when you were about to do your first race in the Olympics?
I going to the Olympics was crazy. It was exciting. There was a bunch of fun stuff going on. However, it was COVID. It was during a pretty bad time. So it was definitely different than most Olympics. Most Olympics, it's like crazy, crazy, crazy. But because of COVID, there was no like events, there was no nothing. Like if it was an event, it was over like Zoom or whatnot. And like the hype wasn't as big. So that was one thing, but it was still awesome. Like when we got there, we got like our 3 bags full of like Lululemon clothing, and like the girls, we just loved it, like opening all our stuff up, and that was so fun. And but I don't think mentally I was as ready as I should have been. Like at the Olympics, it kind of felt like I was watching everyone else's, like I was just like a background character in their movie.
Okay.
Which is shitty. And like I took this Olympics to really like learn, and I will not do the same thing at the next Olympics. But everyone says like, oh, the first Olympics, it's like a learning experience, and it is, things happen and whatnot. And I was like, not me, not me. That could never be me. Like I'm going, like the Olympics gonna be good for me. Like I'm good. I can control everything. I can't control everything. And, if
Yeah.
your mindset's not good, sometimes it's hard to pull it back, and things happen at the Olympics, and, it's bigger, like, cause it's the Olympics, you take it harder, you take everything more emotionally. And I'm an emotional person. So, things would happen, and it was like the regroup button just to try and regroup on my own wasn't happening, because like you're putting your life out there, you're putting things happen in front of like the world, and it was just like really hard for me to regroup from it. So it wasn't the Olympics that I hoped for, and like I took that super hard, and it was very exciting, and it was a good experience, like nonetheless. But it just like wasn't what I was expecting, and it wasn't really what I went for. But yeah, it was kind of hard actually. So I think everyone was really happy for me and excited for me, and I was excited for me, and I was happy. But I don't think they realized like mentally how hard it was for me, um, after and during, and it was probably the hardest time like of my whole entire career and life. Actually, just like mentally, it was super tough. So it did bring a lot of joy and a lot of good things, but it also brought a lot of bad things that I didn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you've learned how to kind of, from that experience, to sharpen your mindset for maybe the next time you
Yep,
go and your other competitions and stuff.
exactly. This year's been going really good for me. And honestly, after the Olympics, I didn't think I could bounce back. I took a lot more time off than I was supposed to. I didn't want to go in a rink. I didn't want to skate. I didn't want to do anything. But then I decided, you know what? I had like that little piece that I was talking about of hope that I still held on to. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try and make the team this year and see. And if I make the team, I'll do it. If I don't make the team, then I'll just take the year off. I made the team, and my first competition went terrible, so bad. Mentally, I was still suffering. I just couldn't get back to where I was, and I was still like, am I even ever gonna be like what I want to be in this sport? And like just so much self-doubt, and like just so mean to myself. And then I kind of had to switch my mindset, because after Montreal we went to Salt Lake, And I just decided, like, you know what, like, I'm here. Like, I just traveled to Salt Lake. Like, I can't leave. Like, I'm in it. Like, I made the team. I'm in it. So, like, the only thing you can do right now is keep being sad, keep feeling sorry for yourself, keep being negative and saying mean things to yourself, or just try, like, just switch your mindset, have fun, like, go back to when you used to just love speed skating because it was speed skating. You didn't care if you got gold, you didn't care if you got a medal, like, you just skated because you liked skating. So I just kind of like flip the switch, and was just like feeding myself positive like things and just being nice to myself, and like it just did like the biggest difference ever. Like, I actually medaled at the competition, and like right then and there I was like, okay, like, just use that momentum and like keep going, keep going. And then we had a competition right after, which was 4 continents, and I got double gold. So it was my first time getting like an ISU, that's like our skating association, and it was my first time getting gold. And it was after like the hardest year of my whole entire life. And I was like, okay. And I didn't only just get one gold. The next race I did, I got gold again. Like, it was 2 for 2. So I was like, oh, okay. I knew the mind was strong, but it's like, it's really a life changing thing when you like flip your switch and just go for it and just try and have fun and do your stuff and believe in yourself. So I got that. So I just have been like fueling off of that momentum, like the double gold and like just skating good this year. But it's just funny because, you know, it's after like the worst year of my life. And like after the Olympics, I took so much time off. Like, I took like double or triple as much time as like everyone else because I just couldn't. I just didn't want to. And so I'm like, wow, like, it's not the training that's going to make or break you. Like, I missed so much training, and here I am, like, skating the best I've ever skated. So, training is one thing. Like, I'm not telling people to stop training. Like, if you need to take a break, take your mental break. And because if you're skating, if I did all that training and I got myself in a deeper hole, I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do that. And I was training through like just being miserable, and I wasn't even putting in my 100%. I wasn't like giving what I could give. It would have got me nowhere. If anything, I would have gotten worse because I would never have been able to flip the switch. I would have just been so far down. Instead of when I took 7 months off, tried to live life, not as an athlete, tried to separate myself from the athlete and a person, because like as athletes, we kind of do that. We're like, oh, I did bad there. So like my self-worth is worse. Cause I couldn't separate like my self-worth and like my achievements and my athletic success. Like, I couldn't separate them. So like it was really hard mentally because I wouldn't do good. And now I would be like, well, I'm a terrible person. Like, I don't deserve to be happy. Like, but it's like, it's nothing about that. And with my sport, like, it's so like, you never know. Like, you could fall, someone could fall in front of you, someone could take you out. Like, you never know. Like, just because one race was bad doesn't mean you're a bad skater. Like, we all have those days, especially in the sport that's literally roller derby on ice. Like, it's not like just you're gonna sprint and whoever gets the best time, that's it. Like, and even at that, there's days that you're better than other days. So yeah, I took 7 months off. I traveled, I tried to enjoy life, tried to just be a person and experience other things other than sport. And I think it did me really good because I could flip the switch and mentally get back into it. So yeah, and I'm skating my best year in Kazakhstan. I also got 2 golds as well, and I've never gotten gold before this year. Actually, I was always getting silver or bronze, and this year getting golds like left and right. So
how many golds have you had this year? Was it 4 total?
yes, I think 4 individual golds this year. Yeah.
And then did you guys get gold as a team too, like for relay or something?
We got a relay gold as
Nice.
well. and silver, and I've gotten silver as well. So silver and gold this year. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like that, you just covered so many amazing topics, and that's so inspiring to hear that. It just goes to show that when we fall and our quote unquote failures are not failures, they're only failures if you had taken that and given up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only true failure, because it's really just a lesson, and it taught you things about yourself that you need to treat yourself better, change your mindset and the way you think about things, and it helps your mental resilience for when you're in like moments of pressure with huge competitions like that.
Yeah.
And it allowed you to develop this strong, even stronger winning mindset, and then here you go and just win these gold medals. Like that to me is just amazing, and it's such a perfect example of what I'm all about on this podcast and as a person, that you change your mindset, you can change your entire life. And
Yeah.
overcoming that self-doubt and realizing that you're worthy and that you can do it, and most importantly, one thing that you said was just remembering why you started it in the first place. What Going back to little Courtney, who just loved to skate and just did it for fun. And
Mhm.
that's so important, to connect to our inner child and
Mhm.
approach life in every aspect of life in that way. Because that's where we're going to be our happiest. And that's where we are going to perform our best. I know that's true for myself when it comes to even just doing this podcast, and especially my music.
Mhm.
Going back to that state. And I have experienced similar things with you with my mindset. Like my last band, my old drummer told me I couldn't sing, nobody likes my voice, and he wanted me to focus on keyboard. I took that very hard. I was like, I questioned, like, can I sing? Like, am I a good singer? Am I capable of this? Should I just give up? Like, is that really true? And he's just the one person of all people that finally told me, even though I was in a band with him for 6 years. Well, then I started a new band, and we like now, like, our song spun on Sirius XM 14 times this month. Like, we're working with
Wow.
a Grammy award-winning mastering engineer. I wrote a song with a Juno nominee on Friday. Like, it's but I would not have been able to do that if I did not have that mindset. The more I realize I'm capable, the better I do. And the more fun I have with it, the better I do too. Because when you're having fun, you're not going to doubt yourself. You're not going to second guess. You're going to be more in that flow state, and your training is going to work out better for you.
Exactly. Everything's easier when you're having fun. So that's super important to never forget that aspect.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
One thing I was going to ask before we closed it up was any advice you would have for young and old athletes, and not just athletes, maybe anybody who's striving for a big dream like you've accomplished. Even though I feel like we've covered a lot through our conversation, would there be anything else you would add?
Just go over like the topic that we said is like, don't let anyone else determine your fate. Don't let anyone's negative comments or just negative attitude towards you like determine who you are and what you can do and like what you believe. And if you believe you can do it, like don't listen to what anyone else says, and just do it and prove them wrong. And like just anything negative, never let it get to your heart or to your head. Just push through and believe in yourself, and talk to people that believe in you, and associate and be with people that like have your best interests in mind and also believe in you. And even if you don't have people that believe in you, believe in yourself, because it's you at the end of the day that's doing it. So
Absolutely. I totally second that. And, Courtney has achieved success in her life, and just know that just because she's done it, it's possible for you. Change what you believe, you change what becomes possible. So, thank you so much for coming on today, Courtney. And, I like to live by the belief that sometimes things happen for a reason, and it took us a while to kind of finally do this podcast, but I don't think it would have been the same without that story of the Olympic thing where you kind of went down a bit and you went back up to the to achieve the gold medals.
No, exactly. You got me at a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So when's your next race?
So we're leaving in a week. So my next race will be in 2 weeks in Dresden, Germany. If anyone wants to watch it, there is a live stream on the isu.org on YouTube. So you can go on YouTube, watch my races if you want. And yeah, follow me. Also, I dog sit because dogs are really good for your mental health. So I'm dog sitting right now if you are wondering what I'm doing.
That's amazing.
I go war with my little puppy, and yeah, I like having dog. I can't have a dog because I'm obviously traveling all around the world, but I dog sit here and there just for the little extra serotonin boost, and it's really nice for my also.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be really good for your self-care routine and mental health. Now, you said your mom's with you. Are you in town, or is she visiting you?
Yeah, I won't show you her, but she's I'm just looking at her greatest right now. But she's in Switzerland with my dad. My dad's a hockey coach in Switzerland. So she flew down I had a competition I think 2 weeks ago, and she flew down just to watch it and help me out a little bit. So
that's great. So I will include all of your social links and whatever else you want me to include in the show description. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me, and good to hear you're doing so good with everything.